Hello, I'm Amy Davies, the CEO of First 30, and today I am so excited to be joined by Jen Paxton. I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do, though.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you again for having me on, Amy. I really appreciate it. I've been growing and scaling, startups from as small as 20 people to as large as, 300 people. And it's been really a wild journey throughout that entire time, and seeing the different trends that have emerged throughout kind of the recruiting process, and also just in the HR space as well, like the different kind of focuses and shifts that have happened over the last, 10 plus years. And I'm excited to switch it up a little bit. And I'm the co-founder of Jamyr. It is a video content platform that companies can use to engage and attract candidates. So think about it as kind of an extension of your employer brand as well. And we're really excited just to get kind of this going, but also support a lot of companies and get candidates a real view into what it's like to work at the company.
That is such a great technology and something companies definitely need today. There is a labor shortage, and it's always great for companies to find ways to promote themselves, but also promote what is it really like to work here, so that when you get an employee in the door, they know what they've signed up for, which is so important. I want to say one more thing about you, Jen, and that is that my husband is often we're on LinkedIn together, and he calls you an HR influencer. And I would have to agree. I would say that your LinkedIn game is fantastic. And I know it's not a game, but you are fantastic. You're so much yourself, and you always share really interesting insights. And so that is one of the reasons you and I ended up connecting. I think it was through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about a specific idea or topic that you have for HR. So I'll let you share a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that I want to share is just kind of that level of flexibility and being able to really support your team in the way they want to be supported. And so the kind of key to that is actually listening to employees and seeing, what do they want to do? There's a very big debate going on now of, fully remote, hybrid, in-office culture. And I mean, the truth is flexibility is going to win over all of these choices. That actually gives employees the option of going into the office, being, fully remote or being hybrid as well. And I can speak firsthand as a mom, when you have a sick kid at home, if you have a culture where you can be supported working virtually or working remotely, that's going to, relieve some of that pressure, kind of that pressure valve that you can have that you put on yourself, because I have definitely put that pressure on myself, but also that just kind of is in kind of this environment that we're working in, because fast-paced environments are really great, but also it can lead to a lot of, bad habits and additional stress and eventually even burnout or turnover too. So I would say flexibility of choice or choice is kind of the biggest thing that I want to make sure that HR teams are hopefully focusing on right now.
You bring up a critical point when you say choice, because when we think about flexibility, that can mean something different to every single person, right? And like your kids are younger than mine, but I was suddenly a single mom of two young kids pre-COVID and had to get into work every day. And my leaders were very understanding and supportive, but it was still, I put so much pressure on myself because there was no real communication about the kind of flexibility that employees are looking for today. And I also love what you said about ask. If you want to know what your employees want, ask them. It's so simple. And then, it's going to be different for everyone, but try to have flexibility in that approach is, I think, what you're saying.
Yeah, try to have flexibility in that approach. And I would almost say feel free to bake that flexibility into your culture, because that's the thing that if leaders are not modeling this behavior, if they're not out there, publicly saying, hey, this is what I need. It might not be what you need, but this is what I need. People that maybe need the same thing will relate to it. And I think they'll actually almost have it be kind of an understanding or almost like a normalization of, oh, if this leader needs this over here, and they can still be a great leader, they just need this accommodation or this thing, then I could ask for that too. And they don't have to, suffer in silence as well, or, be stressed about what training they're going to make home if they have to, right? So it all kind of goes in together of how can you have that culture that supports it? Because even if you have just one person at the company that supports it, but like the entire company doesn't, you're still going to get into a lot of hot water potentially too there.
So if I'm an HR leader or an employer listening to the session today, what would be a good first step? If I think, I'm not sure whether we're a flexible organization or everyone feels the benefit of the flexibility, what would be a good first step for them to take?
Yeah, so it does depend on your company and also kind of your level as well. If you have a good relationship with the senior leadership team, it's good to understand where their kind of lines are or where their boundaries are. Typically, I would say like, go get the data, go ask your employees, have a survey on it. But sometimes I have learned that in different leadership teams, there are leaders or CEOs out there that are like, nope, like this is our bucket here. Like we don't go outside of this bucket. And if that's the case, that number one stifles your data collection, because you can be like, how flexible do you want to be? Or what would your flexibility like to be? And you can't, if your leadership team is not open to it, you can't really open the door to that kind of choice if that's not something that is going to be supported at the top, because then you run into this horrible thing, which is basically asking the question, but then not delivering on the answer. And that makes employees very upset. That is when you get turnover. That's when you get resentment. That's when you get these like detractors that just creep into your organization and, kind of feast on different kind of things of negativity that just build over time. And so I think I've learned over the years, you have to check in with your leadership team and make sure that they are open to it first before you bring it to the team and collect that data.
That's such great advice. And I'm thinking one of the things you might think about is if you have access to the leadership team, you could maybe run some stakeholder interviews about flexibility and then slowly start sharing some data that you can even collect online about the benefits of offering flexibility and what that might, the implications on engagement and retention and all of these great things and the cost savings that could even be built into that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the cost savings, the engagement side, and then also, I'll say like the productivity side. Like we have found a lot of data where productivity is actually spiked within companies that are investing in this kind of choice. The other thing I will say, especially if a new leader is coming into a company, just observing kind of the culture that they have. So are they publicly posting about kind of the flexibility wins that they have as well? It could be in like Slack, their communication tool, or it could be, maybe it's a company email. When I first joined Smile, our former COO, she actually talked a lot about mental health. And when she went back onto the board, it was one of those things where I want to make sure that conversation continued. And I took that kind of torch on as well. And so there are definitely observations you can also do to kind of gather some of your data, because surveys are wonderful and you want to make sure you're getting kind of that trust level with employees, but also if you have a fresh perspective and kind of coming in from the outside, you can gather some of that with fresh eyes that maybe doesn't have that biasy of somebody already being there too.
We call that in research ethnographic research, where you can kind of watch people in their natural habitat and report on your findings. And it's always quite interesting to do that.
I'm going to have to get that turned. That was awesome.
Well, listen, I think that anyone watching this today should make sure, if they're not already, that they connect with you on LinkedIn and they follow your updates, because they're always worthwhile. I want to wish you all the very best of luck with Jamyr. And I want you to tell everyone where they can find more information out about it.
Yeah, so you can check us out on LinkedIn. We do have our Jamyr page. It's Jamyr. And then you can also check out our website, which is Jamyr, so JAMYR.com as well. And of course, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I will be posting many, many things about the company as well and where we're going from here.
That is great. I'm really excited to see what happens next with this, Jen, and I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to speak today. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining me.
My pleasure. Anytime.